Welcome to Detective Diaries, brought to you by Private Detectives Answers Investigation. If you're captivated by the art of deduction, the thrill of solving the unsolvable, or the enigmatic world of private investigation, you have just found your new favourite podcast. Detective Diaries are where secrets are unravelled and the truth is always a clue away. Presented by Private Detective Answers Investigation. Each episode contains offbeat conversations about the real people involved in investigation.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be. Welcome back to Detective Diaries, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on the world of private investigation. I'm your host, Harry Watts. Today, we're talking about a core part of a private investigator's work, tracing people nationally and across the globe. Today, we'll explore the tools, the legal landscape, and the sensitive nature of tracking down a person, whether it's a long-lost relative, a debtor, or a crucial witness. If you listen closely to our whole episode, you may even learn how to find people yourself. Joining us today is someone who knows this world inside and out, Nigel Parsons from Answers Investigation. Nigel and his team have built a remarkable reputation for their meticulous approach to finding people, combining traditional investigative legwork and modern technology with a sharp sense of empathy. From sensitive family cases to complex corporate investigations, Nigel's experience offers a fascinating look into what it really takes to track people down in the modern age. Nigel, thank you for joining us.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I love podcasting.
Brilliant. Now, Nigel, in the movies, it looks simple. The detective types a name into a computer, full profile pops up, complete with a current address, job, and all the rest of it. In reality, I'm sure it's far more nuanced and more complex and, frankly, more human. Digital age has provided us with new tools, but also new walls, I suppose, particularly with privacy laws and GDPR and so forth.
Yeah, I always smile to myself when I'm watching TV and see this tap, tap, tap on a keyboard, and then the whole profile comes up, including some address and pictures and everything else that goes with it, and then off the detectives run, and suddenly they're there 3 minutes later. It doesn't work like that. The first thing I should say is that not every private investigator can just start tracing. We must have a legitimate interest. A person's right to privacy is very central to UK law, and you can't simply start prying into their life for some whim. There are many legitimate reasons clients come to us: locating a beneficiary for a will, tracing a debtor who's disappeared, or reuniting with a long-lost family member. This ethical framework, regulated by organisations like the Information Commissioner's Office, is the bedrock of our profession.
Fantastic. So if you can, try and walk me through this. So a case comes in, perhaps with limited information. I mean, where do you actually start?
Well, it almost always begins with the information you give us. The more, the better. Full name, a last known address, a date of birth, these are the foundations of investigation. If you've only got a name, of course that's possible, but it's much harder and often a bit more of an expensive search.
Right.
But we can and we have worked with much, much less. Sometimes it's a question of identifying a person as well as subsequently tracing them. Once instructed, we combine old school detective work, which I love, with modern tech. Start with database searches. Private investigators have access to powerful proprietary databases that aggregate data from multiple sources. We can cross-reference information from credit reference agencies, from Companies House, of course electoral roll, although I've got to say that's really not reliable and too many people place too much faith in it. And more importantly, other sources that are not generally available to the public.
Right.
For us, we use every resource we find, even offbeat ones like, insolvency records or social media, to obtain a lead. To an extent, email addresses, telephone numbers can link to an address. It's a question of taking all those bits of information and piecing them together to find the person that we want.
I mean, this sounds amazing. I'm envisioning multiple screens, tabs open, combing through all of these digital records, but Is it always computer-based? Is it always on such databases?
Well, that vision of the multiple screens and tabs is actually right. I mean, you sit on my desk, I've got two massive great screens because you just park information all over them. Maybe there's half a dozen bits which you put in a bit from this and a bit from that. It's very, very hard to describe. But as for being a question of tapping into databases, I've got to stress, no. A finding from data is just that. It's data. It's a theory. Frankly, in the extreme, if I choose to input a form saying I'm King Charles II, saying Charles III, I beg your pardon, I forgot the second one, I may end up registered somewhere as King Charles, but it doesn't make me him.
True.
Sometimes the only positive way to confirm that somebody is somebody or somebody is what the data suggests is to make some discrete physical inquiries.
Hola, yo soy James Lupton, intérprete y traductor. Escúcheme en el podcast Detective Diaries, hablando de mis experiencias laborales desde la alta corte inglesa al campo colombiano. Hi, I'm James Lupton, interpreter and translator. Come and listen to me on Detective Diaries, talking about my experiences working from the English High Court to the Colombian countryside.
So it's kind of one half of the coin and the physical is the other half. But if that's not machine-based, how do these physical inquiries take shape?
Well, it could mean a dozen different methodologies. Perhaps a knock on the door, perhaps under an innocent ruse or inquiries of neighbours. We won't ever lie, but I have to confess, sometimes we perhaps don't necessarily volunteer the real reason for the call at somebody's door.
It's perhaps the incentivization to get someone talking there. Is there an example then that you can give us as to how this kind of methodology gets put into action?
Thinking from the top of my head, I mean, not too long ago, we were asked to identify and find somebody, but all the client knew was their first name.
Right.
They had a rough idea of their age, the fact that they probably lived with their parents, but not very much at all, but the area helped, just knowing they were probably in that area. I mean, we satisfied ourselves that the client's reasons were not sinister, I mean, far from it, in fact. And then began to run searches of people with that first name in the target town.
Right.
So from a population of about 100,000, it produced around 250 results just on the basis of his first name. Sounds a lot. You can't deal with that. Still too much to deal with. But by extracting data from those results and references, some had a date of birth, some where that wasn't in the target range, we could eliminate them. Some showed married occupancy, and again, we could eliminate them, and other eliminating factors. In short, we ended up with a short list of just 11 possibles.
Wow. So using that process elimination, you get your short list. What happens next?
To be honest, we discreetly doorstepped them. In fact, to take the edge from it, a couple of my young female colleagues did. They just removed any thoughts from the occupants of any form of threat by somebody on their doorstep. Guess what? Fourth door knock transpired to be the person we found.
Amazing. So you go from 100,000 people to finding the right person just off their first name. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, it's totally process of elimination and using all those little bits of information and some educated guesses.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very satisfying when you get to the end.
When you get the threads coming together, that must be fantastic for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, tracing's an art form. It's not just this image of tap, 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 pudding, there's the result up there. It often takes innovative thought and methodology. It's not just routine keyboard bashing.
Okay, so we kind of talked about where it all goes right, but I'm sure it's never that simple. I mean, what are the difficulties that arise here? I imagine commonality of names, perhaps?
Oh, heavens, yes. It's the John Smiths of this world that are the difficult ones. Not from finding them. I mean, often the problem is simply not locating them from databases.
Right.
We find that quite quickly. The trouble is, which one's yours. You don't know which John Smith's from another John Smith without the corroborating information. I mean, you asked about examples. Another recent issue, we had instructions from a solicitor we've worked with for years and years and years. They're lovely people. They needed to find the beneficiaries from a will, but the will was made about 30 years ago. And on that will are quite a number of bequests and also charity requests. And of course, the charity requests could not be satisfied until the named beneficiaries were found. Okay. We identified most of them, but we had a few that were a bit sticky.
Sure.
Okay, largely because they'd moved. It was just Mr. and Mrs. X down the road, or John and Margaret, even I think in one case. So we identified most of them. We got a few sticky ones. With a couple, even after we've obtained leads that they were or may have died in an area, we ended up physically looking at headstones in graveyards to find evidence of their demise, where of course the death was a little bit too recent to be recorded, because those records don't come out straight away.
It's painting an awfully different picture, I think, than most people would think about. They have the streams, they have the files, they have lever arch files of data, but you're actually looking at headstones. This is coming back into the physical work needed.
Yeah. Transform your mental image from the geek with glasses staring at the screen. Sorry about the glasses people are wearing themselves, but it's a different image from the geek in front of the keyboard to trudging around in the mud and the rain, walking up and down lines of gravestones. Trust me. It's...
So does the casework largely involve the UK then, or are we looking elsewhere?
No, often not. We live in a global society. I mean, we do a lot of work in Europe. Once I travelled to Corsica, having traced someone's birth mother there, to visit her at the client's request. We were really certain about the data, but who knows until you actually get there.
Sure.
I mean, not too long ago, I spent an hour on the telephone with someone who we tracked down to Holland. They'd moved there 27 years ago.
Wow.
In fact, I remember with a lady, she actually came from Wales originally, and she had lived and immersed herself so much in the society she lived in. She'd actually forgotten a lot of English, because I was the first English person she'd spoken to in several years. We located another mother in France. We visited her after it transpired that she retired to a town called Salt 5 years previously. A lot of examples.
Get involved. Detective Diaries is interactive, which involves you, the listener. Do you have a case you'd like discussed? A burning question about investigative life? Send an email to podcast@private-detectives.co.uk or reach out via social media. You may hear your story featured in an upcoming episode. Don't forget to leave your contact details.
So you mentioned a couple of places in Europe there, so there's clearly a lot of reach. Is it difficult to get into these databases and resources?
Yes and no. I mean, it can be an awful lot more work. I mean, everywhere has available databases, some more extensive than the other. Of course, you may be talking about Greece, where they use an entirely different alphabet. The makeups are very often different. To give you an idea, Spain's got, 17 different regions. That's split into a total of 50 provinces. There's also 2 autonomous cities, Ceuta and Melilla in North Africa. You may have to go through every single one. So rather than tap on that computer, you're perhaps doing lots of a very quick looking and hacking. France, again, very similar. Surprisingly, there is very little national recording.
Right.
I mean, France has got 18, I think, administrative regions, somewhere around that. I know about a dozen are in metropolitan France, and then, of course, they've got their overseas regions as well, places like Martinique, Guadeloupe, Réunion, French Guiana. French Guiana is massive. And just because somebody maybe French, they've got as easy access to go to Martinique because Martinique is part of France as opposed to being separate. There's lots of complications to it.
So it sounds like this kind of knowledge and experience you must have picked up over years and years of doing this, because there's so many nuances and individual differences between all of these countries and how you can go looking for these resources.
Yeah, whenever I find something new, some new resource, I keep it. I log it, I put a bookmark on it. And it does help to be able to think, hang on, this might be in, I don't know, Romania, or it might be in Spain or wherever. And oh yes, that's the one you need. Because you're not using everything every single day.
Sure.
In Britain, a lot of the expat communities, you know, people like the lady I mentioned before who got to retire, common retirement destinations are going to be France and Spain, sometimes Italy, increasingly now Portugal, but obviously can be much more further afield. People work globally. They'll just disappear off the map for 3 or 4 years because they've suddenly got a job in Budapest. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's interesting. It really is interesting. Is there perhaps then, thinking back on these sort of years of experience in these different cases, is there a particular achievement that comes to mind, or a difficult case perhaps?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, there's always an achievement in getting the right answer for someone. You do feel that satisfaction. Often it's because the solution is one that is going to be rewarding to the client. Not always, but hey. Many people have been down a very long road before they talk to us. I mean, especially if it's an issue of adoption where they may have waited 30 years to actually do something, with it harbouring at the back of their mind. They may have had a couple of attempts themselves and not got very far, and then finally thought, I need some professional help.
Sure.
Talk about achievements, I don't know, just achievement's the wrong word, satisfaction, maybe. I mean, I can remember being in Gran Canaria, where we travelled with a colleague to serve some legal papers over there on an individual, and just to find after all that work and all that travel and all that effort in getting there that they'd moved. I did manage to locate them, oddly, from a laptop in the back of a van, which is not the best working environment. Same sort of thing happened in Spain.
Right.
The individual we were looking for and tracking down was found to have moved to Cordoba, a city named Cordoba, just a few weeks before. We tracked them to Madrid, which meant a very quick journey there. It was successful.
Hi, I'm Torva Copeman and I'm the head of UK Fingerprint. We take your fingerprints for police clearances overseas and other licenses. You can listen to my podcast and all the services we provide here on Detective Diaries.
I just actually want to come back to something you said about being in the back of a van with a laptop. You're doing this on the move.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, technology helps. I mean, for me, I've been doing this so long. Heavens, I can remember visiting the family records office in London and looking through manual records, big volumes that weighed a ton that you'd hauled off a shelf and go through them line by line, doing the same kind of thing in Dublin, with its equivalent there. Today, at least, I can use a phone, or better, access our server through a laptop from just about anywhere in the world.
All right, so what about the unfindables then? These people who have deliberately gone off the grid, for example?
Oh, deliberate is never easy. They make reality TV programmes now about that. We recently ended up sitting on pavements in Southampton talking to homeless people to get a lead on tracking somebody who was a will beneficiary. They'd gone homeless 11 years before.
Right.
That gives you a real insight into the realities of homelessness, and I won't dwell on it too much, but the thing we saw was how the public figures of homelessness are a total world away from the reality when you sit there and talk to people.
Seeing the real reality of their situation and probably being told it's something else.
Where you kind of think that the numbers which we're told don't even touch on the reality. I shouldn't dwell on that.
Nigel, you've been wonderfully insightful in illustrating how we trace people and how it really is an art form. I mean, if you could summarise the subject, what would be your thoughts?
It's this. The world of people tracing is not glamorous. It's a meticulous, regulated process that requires patience, it requires skill, it requires an unwavering commitment to ethical practice. Because if we didn't, life would be unbearable. I don't want to go to somebody knowing that I found that information through spurious means. I want to be able to show them the workings. I want to be able to show them how, and not worry about how that information has been obtained. I've got to confess, you also need to be quite nerdy. I mean, please don't ask my family about that. They would probably make comments about my excitement of travelling on trams and trains and the endless videos I send of any tram that I see wherever it is in the world on our WhatsApp group. Seriously, it's about piecing a puzzle together. Often you've got very few pieces and quite a few of them missing as well. But the reward, whether it's reuniting a family or delivering justice, it can be profoundly satisfying.
And there we have it. I think satisfying is the term of the day there. Unfortunately, that's all we actually have time for today. Join us next time on Detective Diaries as we delve deeper into the often misunderstood world of private investigation.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast, brought to you by Answers Investigation and UK Fingerprint. If you've enjoyed our conversation and want to learn more about the fascinating world of investigations, be sure to check out Private Detectives Answers Investigation. Their experienced team offers a wide range of discreet and professional services, helping you find the answers you need with integrity and expertise. If you're interested in fingerprint analysis or require specialist fingerprint services, don't miss UK Fingerprint. As one of the leading fingerprint companies in the UK, they provide everything from identification to background checks, working with individuals, businesses, financial institutions, and gambling companies. To find out more, visit www.private-detectives.co.uk, that's a minus sign, and www.ukfingerprint.co.uk. These are your go-to resources for investigative solutions and fingerprint expertise. You can call their office on 020 7158 0332. Thanks once again for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking the truth.